Mayor Doug Khalis is on holidays in Fiji. He left Lake Macquarie before Easter without telling council or his fellow Labor aldermen. According to this article, which appeared in the Fiji Times on Saturday, the mayor is having tourism talks on the island. And it appears the mayor is taking every opportunity to meet with tourism officials while he's on holidays. This morning, the mayor made a courtesy call to the chief executive of the Fijian Visitors Bureau.
He was going to officially suggest that they do a reciprocal visit, some of the officials from Port Macquarie to come visit Fiji, and some of the councillors, including the Lord Mayor, to come over and see what Port Macquarie has got to offer.
Mr Bainimarra told us the mayor had also arranged to meet with the Lord Mayor of Suva, all without the knowledge of the Lake Council. Joining the mayor in today's discussions was a young man, who Mr Bainimarra presumed was Alderman Khalis' son.
Yeah, he was here with his son. Very young guy. Very keen to fly, and I think they're going off to Europe later in the year.
Did he introduce him as his son?
I may have misheard him. I just sort of assumed that it was his son.
The Visitors Bureau said Mayor Khalis was staying at the Warwick Hotel with his family, but wife Judith yesterday confirmed that she and her daughter would not be joining Alderman Khalis in Fiji. She said he was there by himself. The mayor's sudden departure from council is expected to be brought up at tonight's council meeting. Deputy Mayor Alderman Laurie Manning took the chair at last night's council meeting. Mayor Doug Khalis is on a 10-day holiday in Fiji. Alderman Manning relayed Alderman Khalis' request for leave of absence. She called for an explanation regarding his sudden departure, saying she was disturbed about adverse media comments surrounding Alderman Khalis. Council also agreed to question the mayor on whether his visit was of a private or business nature. It's known the mayor has met with Fijian tourist officials and the Lord Mayor of Suva during his stay, and this article in the Fiji Times said Alderman Khalis was promoting tourism links between Fiji and Lake Macquarie. It appears the ALP is also worried about the mayor's behaviour. Is the ALP concerned about what's happening?
Yes, we are concerned about it, and we also will ask the Mayor questions on his return.
And that concern extends beyond council. The Swansea branch of the ALP, of which Alderman Khalis is a member, passed this motion last night. We, the members of the Swansea branch of the ALP, view with alarm and dismay the continued absence from official duties without explanation of Lake Macquarie Mayor Doug Khalis. The branch has called on Alderman Khalis to attend a municipal meeting later this month. It has asked that all Labor aldermen attend. In a separate issue, Independent Alderman Alan Davis says he will ask at next week's meeting for information on the spending of the mayoral allowance. He says the mayor has bought a new sports car, has had 2 holidays, one to Perth, the other to Fiji, and he's also taking flying lessons. According to one interpretation of the Local Government Act, the mayoral allowance can be used only on expenses related to the mayor's official duties. It cannot be used as a salary. Despite repeated calls today, Mayor Khalis could not be contacted in Fiji. Mayor Doug Khalis returns from his 10-day holiday at the Warwick Hotel in Fiji this weekend. However, his welcome won't be warm. Council will be seeking an explanation from Alderman Khalis on why he left for an extended holiday without leave of absence, and the ALP has confirmed it too will be asking some serious questions.
I think he's had a very fair go from the media and the community and the party, and it's time for him to answer the questions.
The Mayor has been asked to attend a municipal committee meeting of the ALP next Friday. President of that committee, Don Bowman, believes the Mayor will be asked to resign from the party and as Mayor of Lake Macquarie.
I believe there'll be calls for him to resign as Mayor, and if he chooses not to do that, then at least from the party he may feel that he can go it alone. But I mean, the call will be to resign as Mayor. I can't say it'll be from everyone in the party, but certainly from quite a number of people.
If Alderman Khalis refuses to resign as Mayor, Mr Bowman says he may face serious and unprecedented action from within the party.
If he refuses to do that, then he faces the possibility of action within the ALP, which might cause him to either resign from the ALP or, I believe, ultimately be ejected.
If Alderman Khalis does decide to resign, a by-election will be held to elect a new Mayor. Alderman Khalis again could not be contacted in Fiji for comment. Malcolm Calder has been appointed by Newcastle Council to manage the refurbished Civic Theatre when it's opened later in the year. The theatre is undergoing a $9.2 million facelift, but already Mr Calder is planning big things.
The shows that happen in here are going to be shows that people have never seen before in Newcastle, and they're going to be shows that provide something for everybody who lives in the region.
So can we expect some big names?
We can expect some big names, but I'm not going to tell you any of them right now.
Mr Calder is a former director of the Bunbury Entertainment Centre in Western Australia and the Rockhampton Performing Arts Centre, but he sees the Civic as his greatest challenge.
I'm excited, I'm challenged, and it's a wonderful thing to be associated with.
The state local government conference in October will be the first gathering in the theatre, followed by the official opening in November.
Dozens of the brightest young lights in competition squash have been battling for a break in the Schweppes Newcastle Junior Open selection trials. In the under-19 girls division, Rachel Grimwood from Toowoomba and Bernie McNally from Darwin made the final, playing to a packed crowd. Rachel Grimwood won the day, both girls the chance to make the national team for the World Junior Championships. Another selection round remains to be played in Canberra. According to world champion and national coach Jeff Hunt, the travelling selection tour brings out the best in young players.
Squash is a very strong sport in this part of the country anyway, and they're trying to do some ranking tournaments to see who's going to be selected to represent Australia at the forthcoming World Junior Championships in Malaysia late in July. So they wanted some tournaments somewhere in Australia, and the people here decided this is a good venue to have it.
The three-day competition has seen the under-15s to 19s take to the court, but Newcastle is also home to a newly formed junior academy for under-13s. Many watched players such as Western Australia's Don Jensen and Victoria's Stephen Hunt, along with Kate and Emma Major from Bathurst, excel in the competition.
The two major girls have done very well against the leading contenders. They haven't quite got there, but they've had some very good matches and had a few good results. So yes, you always find the underdogs coming through in every tournament. That's one of the reasons why you need to have ranking tournaments for juniors, because they improve so quickly.
Don't mess with this young man. He's planning to be the Knights' main enforcer in just a few years. They came from all over the city just to find that extra competitive edge. It didn't matter that they bore the scars of battle. This boy had a broken elbow but didn't even think about not turning up. The Easter Training Clinic is growing every year. It's now so big that they have to hold separate programs up the Valley, Central Coast and North Coast. At 22, Matthew Johns is young enough to be regarded as these kids' older brother. Matthew will line up as first grade 5'8" tomorrow, and although it's his first start in the top grade, he won't get any special treatment.
I can't afford to sit back and be eased into the game. you need 13 jumpers out there more than the 12, so I'll have to do my best from the very start.
But for today, he's lapping up all the attention a new boy on the block can get, from stacks of interviews to photos with new fans.
Homeowners from a small valley near YE have been reclaiming their belongings from Toronto police, who happened onto the haul. Police value the burgled belongings at up to $20,000.
A varied assortment of household items, a lot of course valuable equipment, a lot of antique material and a lot of household equipment.
Police were examining a suspicious car parked in the isolated area when they were met by a resident whose home had been burgled. While on her way to meet them, the woman had passed a broken down vehicle, piled high with many of her household belongings. At the same time, the alleged burglars, apparently looking for a replacement vehicle, were spotted by police. After a chase and scuffle, they were arrested. A later search on a property uncovered a stash of stolen goods. A 25-year-old man and a 26-year-old woman from YE have been charged with break, enter and stealing and resisting arrest.
This is the sight they hope will strike fear into the hearts of the Springboks, 19-year-old Graham Thompson at full stride. Tomorrow he flies out for Pretoria for the Super 10 series against the best rugby countries in the Pacific. His selection as a reserve with the New South Wales team has him rubbing shoulders with the country's best footballers, including Wallaby tourists.
They help you a lot and just show you the little things you're doing wrong, so it's sort of good experience, and sort of they train as they play, so it's really intense, which is different from playing out in the country where it's a little more relaxed.
This week, South Africa has again been torn apart by more race riots, even in the large and normally safe cities like Johannesburg and Cape Town. The riots, though, could end the tour prematurely.
Management are keeping us up to date, and they said we won't go if there's any chance of anything happening to us. They got our best interests at heart.
If the Wanderers centre does get a good run over there, by the time he comes home, he could be on the shortlist for his own Wallabies jumper. The Coffs Harbour Cobras, playing in the yellow, gave their strong Sydney opponents a real run for their money. They took out the bat and racked up 85, hardly raising a sweat. They then had to field to try and protect their tally. That meant throwing everything into it. The bowling was strong but not quite good enough. The Northern hitters were able to notch up 114. But all is not lost, they meet again tomorrow. The men will also start their rounds tonight and play again on Sunday. Just watch how tight this finish is. Shane Dye rode him from nowhere. Simon Stead paid $8.50 and $3. Gary Harley's tip ran a respectable second. It couldn't have started worse for the Knights. 4 minutes in and the Seagulls were awarded a dubious try. The replay confirmed their worst fears. The Knights hardly had time to draw breath when the Gulls went over again. The try was given the all-clear and the goals were up 10-0 in less than 10 minutes. That score was left ringing in Robbie O'Davis's ears just a short time later. Davis failed to come back on after half-time. The only thing keeping Newcastle within reach was the boot of Adrian Brunker. But the pressure took its toll on Tony Herman. After throwing a few punches and a late tackle, he was given his marching orders. The Seagulls could sense their first win and ran in another try to finish up 22-6 over the Knights.
Alderman Doug Khalis flew into Sydney from his holiday in Fiji last night. He was on a Qantas flight from Nandi which arrived at Mascot Airport at 6 o'clock. But Alderman Khalis did not come through the main exit like everyone else. According to passengers, Mayor Khalis and his travelling companion were told to see Qantas ground crew on arrival. It appears they were whisked out a back door. He also had seats booked on an Aero Pelican flight to Belmont but didn't use them. After the plane had landed, 4 police cars with general duty officers and detectives arrived. It's believed threats had been made against Alderman Khalis. This morning, Deputy Mayor Laurie Manning confirmed she had not heard from the Mayor. Despite calls, Alderman Khalis could not be contacted. Alderman Manning said she believed the Mayor would be at tonight's ALP caucus meeting, where he's expected to be told of the party backlash and answer calls for him to resign from the party and the mayoral position. Meanwhile, the independent members of council are bracing themselves for a heated and tense council meeting tomorrow night. In an unprecedented move, the independents met yesterday to discuss their response to ALP calls for the Mayor's resignation.
In view of the circumstances and his sudden and abrupt departure, I'd say that's a fair comment. I'd say we have lost confidence in the Mayor, but we do agree that he should be given a chance to answer questions that need to be asked.
Jodie McKay, NBN News.
Thank goodness, at the present time,
It takes a unique brand of human to want to pedal a bike up the side of a mountain, and an even rarer type to want to pedal down that mountain without braking. More than 100 mountain bike riders converged on Port Macquarie this weekend to do exactly that. Yesterday, the spectacular and dangerous downhill event was held, while the survivors of that also competed in today's cross-country category. Local Bernard Verkuylen beat some of Australia's best riders to take out the Veterans event, while late this afternoon, the country's top 10 mountain bikers were battling it out for the expert men's title. Shortly after 6:30 last night, the Labor alderman of Lake Macquarie Council arrived at the chambers. This was to be their first meeting with Mayor Doug Khalis since he arrived home from Fiji on Saturday night. However, all the doors of the building were locked and the alderman could not get inside. Eventually, the mayor made an appearance but turned quickly when he saw our cameras. If he won't let you in the building, that's not our fault, and we have every right to be here, and the people of Lake Macquarie have every right to know what's going on. When he did finally open the door, he would give no comment to our questions. The ALP caucus was locked in the building for around 20 minutes before Caucus Secretary Alderman Jill Hall and Deputy Mayor Alderman Laurie Manning emerged to make a statement. Alderman Hall said it was a unanimous decision to no longer support the mayor. She said that if a no-confidence motion was raised in council, the ALP alderman would support it. If Alderman Khalis refused to resign from the ALP, then there would be moves to have him expelled. According to the Deputy Mayor, Alderman Khalis believed he had been unfairly judged by the media, but she said recent reports by NBN and the Newcastle Herald had not swayed the decision of caucus.
The Mayor's actions spoke as well, and I think the Mayor had a chance to, after he became sick, he had a chance to redeem himself and be a responsible Mayor, and we can't say that he did that.
Alderman Khalis told the alderman he would not resign as mayor and would stay on without party support. How was the mayor tonight?
Well, obviously he's fairly distraught, and I don't think any of us take any great lightheartedness from this, but we felt there was no other way to go.
Despite our attempts, Alderman Khalis would not allow us an interview. After initially refusing to speak to us this morning, Mayor Khalis agreed to talk to NBN late this afternoon.
Why do you think you've lost the confidence of your own party, the ALP and caucus, now?
Well, I believe that the party is looking after itself, and quite rightly so, so it should. I mean, they believe that what has been built up in the community, lack of confidence in me, through innuendo and gossip and some of the media stories that have emanated out of your television station have created an illusion within the community that my character is questionable.
Why did you go to so much trouble to avoid the media upon your return from Fiji?
It's because I wasn't ready. I had to prepare myself. I wasn't going to just jump into it and start answering questions.
We were overwhelmed with calls, in fact, so much so that we had to employ a mobile phone in the end because we only have 2 lines that are here permanently. The mobile phone gave us a 3rd line, and we understand we were causing a bit of trouble in the telephone exchanges on the Central Coast.
Rhema FM's General Manager Dudley Scantlebury was recovering today after spending the entire weekend overseeing the station's appeal to raise money for transmission equipment.
It was a great success. We raised a total of $51,758.30 over the 48 hours, and I think we're pretty well there.
The equipment, now on order, is needed to help secure a permanent licence.
Hopefully broadcast to the beginning of October, when the new broadcasting year starts on the 5th of October, and then apply for another 90 days to follow.
Rhema FM has been broadcasting on a temporary basis for the past 8 years. The station believes there's a growing demand for a full-time Christian ministry on the airwaves.
Last year, the ABA invited people to put in submissions saying what they wanted in radio across Australia. And I do know that Rhema FM had many submissions in support of this ministry go to Canberra. People in the Hunter saying they want Christian radio in Newcastle.
Construction of the new locomotive maintenance facility is underway, and to mark the occasion, a special ceremony was held at the site.
It's the most modern locomotive maintenance facility that's been developed. And, in particular, it really uses the latest knowledge about water and other environmental aspects.
The $700 million contract to supply and maintain Freight Rail's new 93 and 94 class locos was won last year by Clyde Engineering. Bruce Hall defended the decision to award the work to a private contractor rather than having it done by Freight Rail.
By this contract, we get the manufacturer to stand by his product and keep maintaining the equipment to the levels of reliability and availability that he commits himself to at the front of the contract.
Freight Rail's maintenance workshops at Cardiff and Broadmeadow are being wound down. They'll eventually close, but as for the employees who work there...
There's voluntary redundancy on offer, there's redeployment with or without retraining, and of course there's always natural attrition, people retire and so on.
Bruce Hall believes the current restructuring of Freight Rail will see the organisation actually make a commercial profit within 2 years. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
Enjoying the freedom that our soldiers fought for, students from more than 50 primary and secondary schools remembered the battle on Gallipoli shores.
These men forfeited their youth and innocence and took on the responsibilities of adulthood and accepted these with courage and dignity.
Representatives from various RSL clubs, the Education Department and local politicians also took part, honouring the soldiers of all wars who sacrificed their lives. Meanwhile, HMAS Fremantle arrived at number 5 Lee Wharf today, the crew of 22 here to take part in Sunday's official ANZAC Day parade. The vessel, one of 15 naval patrol boats, is the namesake of a convoy escort in Australian and New Guinea waters during World War II. And for digger Frank Treasure, it's a war he'll never forget. Joined by friends at his Merriweather nursing home, the 92-year-old helped out at a special remembrance ceremony today. Serving in Borneo as captain of a war grave unit, Frank had the unenviable task of burying his mates.
First of all, you've got to get their bodies. That was the hardest part, because it was generally under conditions where it was dangerous. I look upon ANZAC Day as honouring those that didn't come back. I hope it never wanes.
It's 1974 and a solicitor, a pharmacist and a garage worker from Down Under have just won the 30,000 kilometre World Cup. They rallied a Citroen through Europe and the Sahara Desert. The pharmacist was Ken Tubman, a Maitland motoring identity who'd already been credited with winning the first Round Australia Red-X trial in 1953, driving a Peugeot 203. Tubby's rallying career spanned 3 decades. He missed few round Australia events and had driven through deserts and Alps, winding roads and ice in Europe, North Africa and South America. Another highlight was the London to Mexico rally. Cheering crowds of all nationalities have lined roads to catch a glimpse of Tubby, but in 1988 a special ceremony was held in his hometown Maitland. Freedom of the city was bestowed on its favourite motoring son and a road named in his honour. Ken Tubman is survived by his wife Van and family, many of whom still live in the Maitland area. His funeral service will be held at St Mary's Anglican Church on Tuesday.
Revving up and going flat out is what jet ski racing is all about. They begin from a standing start and negotiate a series of buoys to form a tight twisting course. The skis are pushed along by a motor equivalent to a 50 horsepower outboard. That burst of power can make or break a race. The championships are being held at Warners Bay over the weekend, an area notorious for a late afternoon southerly, but that doesn't worry the competitors at all.
Because there's so many other guys in the class, you're getting chopped from them, so unless you take the whole shot or whatever, you're always in chop, and after about 3 to 4 laps, you're in chop anyway, so even if it is smooth, it doesn't really make much difference at all.
Racing starts early tomorrow and the course runs close to the shore, providing plenty of viewing areas for spectators. It's only 7 games in and the Knights are already suffering heavily from injuries. Despite training hard last night, Robbie O'Davis has pulled out after his knee put him in excruciating pain.
Yeah, to run a straight line it was 100%. And when I put as much weight as I can, probably on my left leg, which is a sore one, tends to want to try to give way on me a bit.
Although his knee is sore, he still managed a quick 18 holes today at Waratah. He hopes the walking will strengthen it. His departure, though, has cleared the way for the return of Brad Godden. Also on the injured list, Anthony Butterfield with a cheekbone fracture. Tough as nails, Max Chapman has been recalled to the forwards and is keen to resurrect his spot in first grade.
It's just a matter of fitting in to the team and playing with the team. If there's a job to be done, I'll be putting my hand up.
With Sergeant Harrigan and McCormick on representative duty tonight, the final makeup of the Knights side won't be known until just before Sunday's game.